if you've just got PFS, and if you just got it, remember that you just try if you can. This is a storm. It will get slightly calmer. I know people, because it's living hell when you got it. When you're in the middle of it, and just try to think that, okay, a year or two, and then maybe things will get slightly better, and it's still, you can cope then. Because right now I can cope. I can tell you that I can cope. Life is not as beautiful as it was before, but at least I can cope. That's different, because before I couldn't cope. And so for those who have just got, stricken by this evil pill, just know that, in a couple, not maybe, but in a couple of years, or 1 or 2, then things will get slightly better, and it's at least better than it was before, and you can cope.
Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Mark Millick with the Moral Medicine YouTube channel. So today I have the pleasure of speaking to Ardalan. Ardalan is a PFS patient who's had PFS for about 10 years now. So he's going to be here to tell his story. So Ardalan, really want to thank you for coming on the channel and doing this interview, man.
My pleasure, Mark.
Yeah. So Ardalan, we'll jump into it. I mean, it's been 10 years now since you got PFS. Can you mind giving the audience a rundown of what your life was like before you ultimately, got Post-Finasteride Syndrome?
I mean, basically a normal life, really, like I was driven. I lived abroad for many years. So, I mean, I had projects and, many plans and stuff,
Sure.
Things young people do. And so things were good, and things were looking really good, before this all started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm assuming you kind of went through the general process of, you noticed some hair loss and you wanted to address it. So did you go to a dermatologist, or did you go through a telehealth company? I'm not even sure if telehealth companies were around 10 years ago. So I'm assuming you went through a dermatologist or a GP, right?
Yeah, a GP, really.
Okay, I got you.
And
so what was the process like to get it?
It was just so easy. I just went to this doctor, and I told him about my problem, this hair loss, and he just prescribed me the pill just right away, basically.
Did he give you any type of informed consent or any rundown on the potential side effects or symptoms that you could experience?
Not that I can remember, really. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
So you felt comfortable taking it then, once he prescribed it to you then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I had some information about, like, side effects, like, like erectile dysfunction, possible erectile dysfunction, but that was just some minor details, nothing else really.
Right. Yeah. Were you told of any permanent side effects that could persist after you took the medication?
And that was the thing. I was aware that, you could have some of these, like erectile dysfunction side effect, but that they were not permanent, that once you got off the pill, you would get back to normal.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what was your experience like when you took the medication? Did you notice side effects immediately, or, what did that look like?
No, I actually didn't. So what happened was, well, yes, some side effects in terms, like I realized that my my sperm got different. So that was one thing. But I thought, I mean, I guess this is one of the side effects, and once I get off the pill, it will just get back to normal. So it wasn't anything that affected my life, so to speak. Nothing, not sexually or physically or mentally or anything like that. So I noticed that, but nothing else.
Sure, absolutely. So how long did you take it for then?
I mean, in total, I took it for, let's see, I started in 2009 and I stopped taking the pill in 2018. Yeah.
I wasn't aware you took it for so long. So you took it for almost 10 years then.
Yeah. But here's the thing though. Like, side effects, when they started for real,
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was finasteride. That's the
Sure.
thing, you know. So
Yeah.
this thing went on for some years,
Hmm.
like the side effects, and before I actually realized this is it. It must be the pill. It must be finasteride
Yeah.
because I couldn't figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
I was thinking of everything else
Sure.
besides, except finasteride. So,
Yeah.
like I would say, now that I think back, I think my side effects, the cognitive and all the bad side effects that really affected my life, they started after maybe, let's say, 3 years or 4 years after, like, I started taking the pill.
So in that time, those 4 years, you really don't have any side effects other than some different consistency with, I think, your sperm, you said,
Yeah.
but nothing else. And then after 4 years, what happened? Was it cognitive issues that kicked in? Was it
Yeah.
sexual? Was it physical?
More than anything, cognitive issues,
Cognitive. Okay.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
I was a big reader, for example.
Mm.
So I noticed, I couldn't read. All of a sudden, like,
Mm.
not all of a sudden, but like progressively, I felt like, I'm getting worse at reading. I can't remember the things I used to remember, like I
Yeah.
would read a page like easily. And,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, like, well, progressively it took like more and more time. So at one point I couldn't even like read a page anymore,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember I was sitting on a bus when I lived in Argentina. I would read like novels or whatever, and
Mhm.
I couldn't read the damn page anymore. And
Yeah.
I realized,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's
Right.
something really wrong here.
Right. Yeah. Like you
Mm.
can't process what you're reading, right? I mean, you're
Yeah,
reading it over and over again, but you're not really
yeah,
retaining the information.
mm-hmm,
That's one of the things I noticed too.
yeah.
So that was what, back in
Let's
2013,
say,
2014?
yeah, 14, yeah, maybe 14 or so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
hmm
then what happened from then? It progressed, it got worse, you developed new symptoms.
yeah. It got worse. It got
Okay.
worse,
Yeah.
and it affected my. So one thing I noticed, like, is like teeth grinding. I've never had problems like with teeth grinding in my life.
Okay. Hmm.
So that started, and I'm positive, and that this is due to finasteride, the consumption
Right.
of finasteride.
Absolutely.
I'm positive. And so that started, like, my teeth, teeth health got worse. I
Yeah.
just noticed my teeth were getting, the quality of my teeth were just bad, all of a
Yeah.
sudden. So
Yeah.
I noticed that too. Didn't think it was finasteride, of course, but
Sure.
mm,
You know what's interesting? I was just telling somebody this recently. I got diagnosed with periodontal disease
mhm,
right when I was still taking finasteride, or like right around when I came off finasteride. It was around that
yeah,
same time period. I had perfect teeth at that
yeah,
point. I was brushing my teeth twice a day,
hmm
using mouthwash, flossing twice a day, and for my teeth to just go south so quickly. I mean, it was just very, very unique for that to happen, right?
yeah.
So I can relate to that. So going back to you though, it was 2018 when you ultimately came off the medication. In that time,
Yeah.
were you going to doctors just trying to, do like the process of elimination to figure out what the potential cause could be for all these different symptoms, or what happened?
Um, yeah, I went to some doctors,
Hmm.
but I still didn't think it was finasteride though when I went to the
Yeah.
doctors. So,
Right.
I asked them, oh, what is this? Because talking about all these, like sound processing was getting hard,
Hmm.
like processing sounds and hearing, in general, and all these kind of things. And of course, they would say that they thought I was like depressed. Of course, that's
Hmm.
the first like thing they
Right.
say. Or stress. You know,
Right.
um,
Yep.
they would ask me a lot about, are you stressed? Do you live a stressful life? And what are your routines and so forth. And so
Hmm.
that was what I would get from the doctors I visited during that time. Yeah.
So when did you finally piece it together that it may be finasteride?
When it just wouldn't stop. When it would
Yeah.
get worse and worse up to a point where I couldn't. Seriously, I wasn't able to get out of the house without being overwhelmed by all these impressions, all these cognitive, signals coming in, you just hearing and seeing, I just walking down the street was unbearable. So I said, I mean, what can it be? It must be this pill.
Right. Right. And so you came off, and then what happened? Did things get better? Did they get worse? Did they persist?
I mean, the cognitive issues, they got even worse. One step worse. Things were not good before, but just like think one step worse, and then I started developing this like these reaction to foods that I didn't have before, like really like strong reactions, like really obvious reactions, like I would eat a piece of chocolate, and 5 minutes afterwards, I would just be like bedridden because cognitively, I would collapse, crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So carbs, that the carbs were just devastating after I stopped taking the pill. So certain foods, no doubt, definitely, and I noticed it almost right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So any physical changes, or mainly just the cognitive issues?
Physical. I didn't. No, in my case, not really physical changes. Now when I think of it.
Yeah, that's what makes this so interesting, is that some people will just experience cognitive issues. Some people will just experience sexual issues. Some people will experience physical issues. Some people will experience all three of those domains, and they just crash hard. But your primary issues were the cognitive issues, which I understand how that can be so impactful in your everyday life.
Yeah.
So I guess, having said that, how did it impact your life? How did it affect your relationships, your career, everything?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't work for 2 years or so.
You stopped working?
I could, because it was impossible. It was really impossible. Now, during that time, I also had to move back to my parents. So my parents live in Sweden. I was living in Argentina. I had to move back. I wasn't able to, live on my own.
They had to basically take care of you at that point, then. In some sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the first 2 years were just incredible. And another thing is, of course, when I stopped taking the pill, is like how, and I've read about this several times, but like how you react to sex, like ejaculation. So you ejaculate and you have this crash, and I would have these terrible crashes. Once again, I would get bedridden, like
just from basically orgasming.
Yes.
Yeah. I've heard that from a lot of people. Their energy becomes zapped. I mean, they basically, they crash when they orgasm. That's insane.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Ardalan. So you came off in 2018.
Yes.
At what point did things start to improve for you? Because I think you've gotten a little better over the years, right?
A little better, yeah, slightly better. I would say let's say 2 years back or so.
It took about 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to any doctors in this time to try to get further diagnosis, or?
I did. Several doctors.
Yeah.
And I talked about finasteride. I even talked about some, research. Tried to address some research, and
Right.
And well, the doctors would not even take a look at the research I would present.
Really?
Unfortunately, yeah. Even like articles or papers or no.
Yeah. They just completely disregarded it.
Yeah, they did.
Did you try any treatments, any type of, particular diets, or did you try to take any other medications to, correct some of the cognitive issues, or?
Yeah, I mean, I started reading, of course. That's what people do when they want to solve issues they can't get help with. So, I mean, I took started vitamins, special vitamins, I don't know, magnesium, all these pills like proteins or whatever, but it didn't work. It just got worse. But one thing that did help slightly was a low carb diet. Okay. I mean, so that kind of eased the pain to some extent. Eased the
That does seem to help people, at least
Mm,
to a certain extent. I mean, for
mm,
me, I can't have any carbs without my body
mm,
essentially crashing again. I mean,
yeah,
I become extremely fatigued. I get really severe brain fog. So I got to
yeah,
have more of a low carb diet versus before I could eat whatever the hell I wanted to.
yeah,
I could tolerate pretty much anything.
yeah.
So I understand that. How have your friends and family reacted to this? Have they believed you?
Um, so, I mean, some have and others have not. So, for example, um, I mean, I think, and it's not. Sometimes it's not about belief, but maybe like take it in. You know what I mean? The difference, like,
Sure.
it's like how. Of course, it could be disbelief, but sometimes it's just hard to grasp. And
Yeah.
so, for example, my parents, they had a hard time not believing me, but understanding the whole thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
For sure.
because I wasn't able to understand myself really how complex this is, because it's really, we don't know really how complex this is for real. And so they had a hard time just grasping the whole thing. But they supported me anyways, you know,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they took care of me and they
Yeah.
saved me. And but my brother did understand, and he still understands, because he started doing research, like listening, you know, to what I had to say, and started reading some articles about post-finasteride syndrome and
Yeah.
finasteride. So he believed me, and he said, yes, I believe you, I know you are suffering from this condition, you know. And
Yeah.
that was really comforting in a way.
It is comforting when you get a little
Mm-hmm.
validation from people that
Mm-hmm.
you look up to or your closest
Mm-hmm.
family members, because you feel very isolated and lost when you're in this
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you at least got support from your family, which is great, and eventually
Yes.
belief. I mean, you said your parents are still kind of, they can't fully comprehend or understand it, and who
Mm.
can, right? Unless you're
Yeah.
going through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ardalan. So at this point, I mean, you said you've had some improvements, but you're still pretty damaged,
Yeah.
it seems like, even to this day.
Yeah, sure. I mean, still like things like, you know, I'm sensitive to sounds, like,
Yeah.
in let's say in places where you have, you know, people talking a lot, or loud places, really, you know, I can't stand it really.
Yeah.
That's too much. Like all these, you know, perception, how like, uh, when you're in a square and you got a lot of people coming and going, and there's a lot, or traffic or whatever, I just
Hmm.
get overwhelmed. I can't take
Yes.
it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and I know it's not stress. I know it's not. I know there's something else. It's something neurological. I just know it because I feel it, you know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, um,
Yeah, you get
so
overstimulated so easily. I mean,
yeah,
I work in a high stress field, very fast paced,
yeah,
and I just don't have the calm demeanor that I
mm,
once had. I've learned to kind of control it over the past, couple of years since I've gotten PFS, but it takes a lot of energy. It takes a
yeah,
lot of focus. And before it was
hmm,
just very natural. I could deal with stress; it would come my way, and nothing would really
definitely,
get to me.
yeah,
So I understand that.
yeah.
Well, Ardalan, hey, I really appreciate you coming on the channel and sharing your story here. Before we hop off, do you have any closing statements or anything else you'd like to tell the audience?
No, I mean, if you're if you've just got you know, PFS, and if you just got it, remember that you just try if you can. This is a storm. It will get slightly calmer. You know, I know because it's living hell when you got it. You know, when you're in the middle of it, and just try to think that, okay, a year or two, and then maybe things will get slightly better, and it's still, you can cope then, because now right now I can cope. I can, you know, tell you that I can cope. It's not, life is not as beautiful as it was before, but
Yeah.
at least I can cope. You know, that's
Yeah.
different, because before I couldn't cope. And so
Yeah.
for those who have just got, you know, stricken by this evil pill,
Yeah.
Just know that, you know, in maybe in a couple, not maybe, but in a couple of years, or one or two, then things will get slightly better, and it's at least better than it was before, and you can cope, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I believe so.
Ardalan, really appreciate those closing statements. And I would agree. I mean, things do improve, even if not much, they improve slightly over the course of time, which is obviously better than nothing. Just real quick, I want to emphasize this again. You took this medication for about 4 to 5 years before you had any real symptoms,
Yeah.
and then you came off it after about, 8 or 9 years, and then you got hit very hard with this.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to highlight, because there are people who can take this medication for years without issue, and then out of nowhere, they start to develop these symptoms. And so, I mean, my best recommendation is to avoid this. Don't even start the medication, because you just never know when you're going to get hit with it.
Definitely. I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ardalan, really appreciate you coming on the channel, man. Thank you so much, and we'll see everyone next time.
Oh, thank you, Mark, for having me. It was a
Absolutely.
pleasure.